Now you need to play around Bishu at the same time. Everybody else on the team, Billy Boss, he's very aggressive, but you can't have that many aggressive players on a team unless they're all exactly on the same page. You need people who are going to help these guys out. So Bishu, I expect him to go with something very carry-oriented in the mid. It might take some time to ramp up, but I want to see everybody else kind of facilitate Bishu getting to that mid-late game, but have some action around him.
Yeah, we'll see if the action can happen well. We had already seen that Plex was a good ganker overall, so if he continues to make plays happen, then good for them. Rumble, Annie, Shen, pretty standard bans here so far. Sheep, actually, they're going to be the ones banning Alistar here for Cloud9 Tempest. Sheep had previously taken 3 Alistar bans onto himself. There's 2 champions as well I want to watch for here. This is 5.12, by the way. That means the mid lane Smite Ezreal is the new thing. Also, I've heard people say that Ryze actually got buffed in the 5.12 changes. Certainly changed a lot, but many consider him still very strong. Yeah,
Ryze has more damage than he did before. He has more early access to it because you rank up Q now instead of W. And then the perma root almost comes. It's not completely gone. But
well, the perma root is gone.
Yeah,
he can obviously
the
root
perma root is gone.
time.
There's a gap between them now.
Right, which is the important part. That was the goal of the changes.
Yeah.
So technically, the perma root is gone.
The perma root is gone.
He of course still casts spells by being Ryze. So either way, we're going to see what happens here. Jungle ban 1 on Gragas means the first pick Rek'Sai comes through. C9T allowed that pinch to happen, so I'm curious to see what they think is important here. I think Sivir's a big one, and maybe Nautilus would make sense here with the... Okay, Maokai is the one.
Well, especially with Kalista off the table, you definitely want to pick up Sivir as soon as possible. Yeah. I like the actual ban here of Shen from Vortex, because they don't really know how to deal with it if it's in Solo's hands with the top lane champions they have.
All right, so then Billy Boss going to be able to pick into the Maokai matchup. Really, the only top laner bans were the Shen and Rumble. We know that Maokai's a safe top laner. Many teams happy to blind pick him, and we'll see if the matchup can eventually get pushed around. I don't know if that's likely, but just maybe. Plex, once again, on his happy Rek'Sai. The second game we're seeing of this Vortex lineup. They had an early game lead last time. They got an early game jungler to do the same thing again. Maybe they can actually transition in their second match here, but they're taking their sweet time and actually deciding what they want to pick for themselves.
Yeah, it's the second time we're ever seeing Plex, too. This guy came over from EU. This is his first competitive team that he's ever been on, so he has a lot of learning to do as well in lane swaps and his gank routes. So yesterday we saw him go into a 2-on-2 lane that was actually swapped around and getting some early kills there. So I want to see if they lane swap it, how he's going to do in that.
Yeah, absolutely true. I remember when Rush came into the North American LCS for Impulse, he was hyped up as rank 1 Korean solo queue, mechanics through the roof, really aggressive, but didn't know how to play lane swaps, and he had to go learn that. And Plex, you're absolutely right, could be in a similar situation. The few picks to come through for Vortex is actually not an aggressive support, so with Janna, the ganks are harder for the duo lane, but Bishu gets the Azir. You mentioned him being on a bit of a carry force, and I do like seeing Azir players.
Yeah, I like seeing people who play that Azir very, very well. I love it alongside Nunus, but that's kind of fallen off to the wayside. A lot of people are going for those very aggressive junglers and then just having the Azir for the late game pressure, for the wave clear, for the poke. So Bishu on this champion, though, is very potent, and I want to see what they pick into this on Cloud9 Tempest side. We've seen a lot of people used to pick Cassiopeia. We don't actually see that as much. Cassio's kind of fallen off since she's taken nerf after nerf.
Well, the funny thing was Cassio was popular while Victor was disabled, and it became like the Azir Cassiopeia show, and then people decided they liked Victor more because bursting people is fun. But yeah, it's kind of the way it's been right now. I still think Cassio's very strong, but either way, next few picks come through for Cloud9 Tempest. They're saving their support pick for last. The jungle Evelyn happy to come through, the mid lane Victor, as we'd mentioned, coming in. So still a lot of the same champions in the same sort of top tier pool.
So we talked about Bishu versus Yusui. They're switching champions from yesterday.
Yep.
So Bishu on the Victor went 5-2-0, and then Yusui on the Azir went 1-2-5. So they're kind of saying, we can have a better performance on the other champion. We'll see what happens here between the two. But
yeah,
I'm really interested to see what happens in that mid lane, because last time there wasn't really an advantage that was created there. And, frankly, there might not be another one that's created in that mid lane, but I want to see what they do with this, because you have the Rek'Sai ganking a Victor. That seems like a place you want to be heading very, very frequently.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll see if that ends up happening here. Right now, Vortex, to make their last few choices, they will go for the Vayne for Veritas. Vayne Janna, a very defensive lane, really, really low kill threat, but it does mean Vortex is going to have an incredibly scary backline. Yeah, Gnar and Rek'Sai here to be the front line for themselves, and then the Azir Vayne hard carry is going to be the goal. The question is, if Cloud9 Tempest gets into the back line, like, Vayne doesn't stop you from insta-dying. Like, Victor's still going to be useful in Maokai as well. So we'll see if she can peel that damage enough.
Yeah, the Janna, the Rek'Sai, and the Gnar, you know what? They have a lot of control here over fights, though. The Azir wall, the condemn, the fact that Janna can knock everybody back. There's a lot of ways to stop people from getting into the backline. They have some engage potential. They have mixed damage. So this is overall very well-rounded composition here. They just only have one source of wave clear, that's Bishu.
Yeah, and again, like the thing is, it's not like they're dealing with a Shyvana or like a Lee Sin for the backline damage. It's champions that are doing range damage anyway, or ones that are immune to getting locked out like Maokai anyway, where he W's under the pool in the first place. So again, I'm not a big fan of Janna in against teams like this, just because they do reach, but we'll see if that matters much here. Now the last pick is going to be Nautilus support, so she does have even more engage, and honestly, I really like C9T's comp. They're very good at going in. Their wave clear is actually quite strong with Sivir and Victor together, and they've still got a good early game jungler with the Evelynn. I personally like C9T's comp a bit more. Yeah,
C9T's comp has a better mid-game spike, and then actually can kind of almost rival the spike. If you run in with Righteous Glories, you're going to have multiple ones on this team with Nautilus and Maokai. Alongside movement speed increases, pretty much everybody on this team has a movement speed increase, aside from Maokai and Nautilus, but they're going to buy it for themselves.
Yeah, and at least they have move blocks to engage forward. So certainly, yeah, the ability to walk into fights, definitely there for Cloud9 and Tempest. Vortex will be trying to disengage as best they can with the Gnar and the Janna both having good displacement. And otherwise, just a very, very high DPS backline. Vayne, Azir, two of the very best in that role for team fight carry. So anything can happen depending how the positioning goes for both these teams. But as the teams load onto the Rift, let us know who you think is going to pop tonight's first Nexus. Tweet hashtag VTX win for Vortex or hashtag C9T win for Cloud9 Tempest to @LOL Esports. We'll check the score in a few minutes into the game. I think this is actually one of the closest matches in Challenger. Depending on how the rest of the teams shape up, this could even prove to be a match that means a playoff spot. Right now we're seeing, obviously, like Renegades at the very top and Winterfox at the very bottom, but the middle four seem very close, and this is, I think, one of those really big matches that determine who's very strong, despite the fact that the records are very low. It was a tough strength of schedule. Vortex didn't get to play week 1 with their intended lineup, so I think it's a very important matchup here.
Yeah, and especially with Coast looking really good.
Yeah.
Seeing where these guys lie, with Imagine coming up with Dardoch in the jungle. So C9T versus Vortex, every game counts. You don't play that many in Challenger. You play a total of 10 before playoffs, before you even get to see, did we make it to playoffs? So every game definitely counts here, and this could be a 1-1 split, because Vortex had a 3K gold lead yesterday before MatLife ended up making a play that got capitalized on, and then Veritas was poked out. So C9T had a comeback victory yesterday and ended up closing it out off of that.
So let's see how this game unfolds. Right now, line of scrimmage chosen for everybody on every team. Completely normal stuff. Mid laners show mid. They see each other. They earn some gold. Like, I know we buffed the utility matches a while ago. I want to see a support go like 15 points utility just to get the 3 bonus gold from auto-attacking the enemy mid laner, since you fight him anyway. It's like acquire the dollars. I'm not saying it's good, but I just want to see it once.
It's almost like back when jungle enchants were free, going poacher's knife just to kill like 1 or 2 camps and then selling it for another enchant.
That's right, yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I got 20 extra gold.
And I ran fast.
And it was worth it.
Yeah, true. All right, well, line of scrimmage continues, and all 5 trinkets from both teams used, pretty much all across the river. If an invade happens, it'll be easily collapsed upon, so no invades are going to happen. Cloud and Tempest are going to assign their jungler to start Krugs and then get red buff. Looks like Solo will help Yasui get a small XP lead to start his lane, so Yasui should be doing well in the one-on-one here.
And we talked about these mid laners a whole bunch, Yasui, Bishu. I want to see what Hard and Plex do, because both these guys have junglers that need to exert some early pressure, especially Hard. I've seen Evelyn's very, very, very recently just fall off. You know, she came back into the meta. People were like, all right, what do I do with this Evelynn? I scale like everybody else? No, you have to get into these lanes and you have to affect them. And it seems like a big problem when people are selecting this Evelynn if they aren't making those early moves. We saw Shrimp yesterday making those early moves, but a lot of people just sit on the Evelynn and try to farm, and they aren't as aggressive with it as they should be.
Well, we'll see if they're allowed to be aggressive, because we are in a interestingly a double jungle situation, even though we have completely default lanes. It looks like we had pretty much half the jungle get cleared at level 1 by everybody. And at a certain point, Vortex will realize, wait a second, I can set my top laner to the top lane and actually get experience and gold. So Solo will recall, he'll get level 2 off the double jungle, and we are into the default matchups.
They got level 2, they're going to burn their TPs possibly to get back to lane. We'll see what both of them do. All right, so yes, both TPs used. It's just like clearing a camp by yourself.
Do it. Yeah. Great hook though. Matt takes a lot of damage. Ignite already burned as well. He's going to be incredibly low on health. Now it is thankfully Janna. She's got plenty of potions in the coin, so the health will come back up. But right now, a lot of lane dominance for C9T.
That's all his potions, though. He's going to have no more left to the 3 that Sheep has sitting in his inventory. He's going to change to 2.
And this, I mean, this is a weak lane. It's Janna Vayne. Like, you're never going to win almost any of the possible matchups in the duo lane.
You're always going to get shoved into by a Sivir. Sivir's wave clear early on. You just take the Boomerang Blade, the Ricochet, you're immediately going to shove it out. And that's how they got that level 2 so early, but they immediately pressed it as well.
And so now I actually want to talk about what lanes are gankable. You mentioned the fact that both these junglers are early aggressive ones, right? Rek'Sai on one side, Evelynn on the other. Even if C9T perma-shoves the bot lane, I don't think they're really gankable. Janna Vayne is just not a good gank assistance lane, even if Rek'Sai gets the knockup. So that seems kind of immune to pressure. However, both these top lanes are full of crowd control. And Solo and Billy Boss could definitely set up their junglers 4 kills up there.
They're going to be fighting a lot too. They bought a ton of consumables, and when you back as a top laner and get those 5 potions, some mana potions on top of them from the jungle clear initially, you want to keep brawling each other and try to get through those consumables so you can eventually get to just the meat of their health and the actual lack of sustain that they get. So this is what the goal is going to be in this top lane, is just trying to batter each other to exhaustion until a jungler shows up.
All right, well, Plex is trying to set up this bottom lane dive, which I just feel is really going to be risky to go for. He did walk by a trinket on his way over. C9T knows he's around this side of the map. Plex puts a trinket by the Grump to try to spot Hard. Doesn't find him. They actually should know Hard is near top lane because of the fact that he's not taking Grump. And there's the engage on towards Billy Boss. Down to half, burns his flash, and that's all they could do.
Yep, and you get some more consumables for that. Solo gets some lane pressure. He gets to keep it in the middle. And Hard, he can continually gank this lane because as an Nard, you're never gonna have vision of this Evelynn.
Yep.
Right? You throw down the green ward, your trinket ward, you're still not gonna see her in the river. Billy Boss hasn't even thrown that thing down.
Yeah, but still really good play by Hard so far. He actually puts the Trailblazer, or sorry, he's got a Trailblazer. He puts the pink ward down in the enemy jungle to try to keep tracking Plex. Plex himself realizes that with Evelynn top lane, he should probably counter jungle. He still knows he's safe to fight the bot lane, but you can see in a different lane matchup, Vortex could have dived this lane already, but this is not one where you get the kills here, so even seeing Evelynn top, nothing gained.
Honestly though, if Vortex don't make early moves and they don't follow the C9T's early moves, that might be a win for this composition. Because you have the Vayne, because you have the Azir, if you're not falling behind, then you're in a really good spot.
Yeah, I mean, there is some decent scaling here. I'm not sure it's necessarily much better, but it's definitely not horrible. So we'll see. No ganks happen, yeah.
It's the situation where you don't have to make early game moves. So if nothing happens, you're okay. But because you're not reliant on them. It's not like, oh god, nothing happened early. Our guys are going to get outscaled.
Yeah.
Something's not going to happen to us. And if you do get an early move, it's kind of a gift. You're like, there's a kill on Azir early. It's like getting a kill on AP Kog'Maw. You're like, this is just a gift from the gods. This composition is going to turn online much earlier. So,
oh man, Matt hooked in again. He's got flash though. This is honestly not going to be a lot of damage. A really good tornado stops Hard from getting in range. All is well. But to that point though, if we're going to keep discussing jungle picks, it makes me question the first pick Rek'Sai. I understand the jungle steal, I understand doing all these things, but without really any gankable lanes and the fact that you kind of want to scale, why not just have a Nunu who's going to have a better late game, still tracks the enemy Evelynn, right? And like allows you to get through your laning phase, because part of being an early game ganker is having gank assistance in your lanes, which just doesn't exist here.
Yeah.
Unless Bishu goes for like an outplay.
Yeah, picking Nunu is rather risky because then you give them Rek'Sai, and if they pick the Evelynn is a good counter to Nunu.
Really?
Because you can actually walk into his jungle, and then if he snowballs you, you just W it, and then you E, Q, 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 because like you aren't very attack speed reliant either. So you can actually invade on the Nunu and stalk him. So you get to counter jungle the Nunu.
Okay. Okay, I feel you on that.
Yeah, it's why ClearLove picked it in the first place. It
was popular?
In Game 5 of MSI. It wasn't, yeah, Nunu was popular, and he's like, okay, this is my pocket counter pick to Nunu. Okay. The Evelynn.
Well, Hard right now. Looks like actually both the aggressive pink wards got cleared away. Plex just killed one. Hard's going to do the other one that Plex had put down. So Deep Vision still being mostly denied. We are seeing some more Warrior Evelynn. No big surprise here, but he's going to have some more early damage, whereas we are going to see the Cinder Hulk Rek'Sai. Still a tied game. Gold basically identical in the equal lanes, and honestly, it's tied in all the matchups. Sivir and Nautilus actually stopped trying to push Veritas in, and it allowed Vayne to last hit pretty effectively.
Yeah.
Recalls coming through, BF Sword versus Boots Cutlass, so more standard recalls, with C9T trying to use this time off the Vayne recall to go for an early dragon.
So they'll get this first dragon for themselves. good on them because yesterday their dragon control during the early game was actually very rough. They gave up 4 dragons. They stole one that stopped the 5th dragon very early on, and then they ended up getting 2 more dragons to their name. So the total dragon count at the end of yesterday's game was 4-3, but it could have been 5 very easily for Vortex early on. So C9T recognized that Plex likes to gravitate towards that as an objective, and they take it very early on. It's a good move there.
Definitely a good move. And just keying off the fact their bot lane realized they had the recall advantage over Vortex, and also just the fact that Plex ended up being the other side of the map. So a lot of things coming together that worked well for Cloud9 and Tempest. We get back to the lanes, bonus attack damage and ability power now here for C9T. And the dual lane again going to have to play defensively, but with lifesteal I feel like Veritas will be totally safe. And we continue to play the farming game, and with no objectives to make you rotate, which is really not going to be a lot going on. Smart by Plex though, he identifies the opportunity to counter jungle and steal a red buff away. So the exact same thing happens here for Hard, and we're going to have a trade of red buffs.
Well, it depends. He has his ultimate now. If he ulties across the map, probably won't, but
it's always a way of knowing Eve's there.
It's always something where if you're clearing your own, you're like, might as well ulti through the other side of the map. Might be okay. But just so it's on the table. Another thing though, I was looking at Yusui's items. He went immediately for the Mark II upgrades, so he upgraded his E and his Q already, pre-level 9. So he's not even putting a whole lot of points into his Q to get the low cooldown. He just wants the shield very early on so he can stay in this lane against Bishu because of the range.
The move speed from the Q. Yeah, that's the rank up there. Yeah, and I actually really do like the double augment builds. I know Faker's one of the players who's really a big fan of it. I just like the fact that it gives you a lot more dueling power. You mentioned the range disparity. I just think it's good at cleaning up team fights, really. And when you consider the fact that they've got a Maokai and a Sivir and like a lot of ways to start fights, making sure you have cleanup, I think is really, really valuable.
Yeah, the difference is really, do I go for that or do I go for the parts of like a Fiendish Codex for
right, you get
idol?
Codex, essentially.
Right, so some CDR there, but a lot of people kind of hold off on the Q upgrade until they have enough CDR to and levels in your Q, so it's a low cooldown, to actually get the most out of it. But the fact that he went for that early movement speed so he can skirmish around these fights is big. Because I talked about it in Champions, like everybody on this team has a movement speed increase, and we'll see Righteous Glories from Maokai and Nautilus eventually. So this team is all about getting into the face of Vortex and not letting them skitter around the fight with the Vayne.
Well, right now, bot lane getting skidded around. A great stun from Veritas. He's got to turn back in towards
Hard
Nautilus. He misses an auto attack, takes an ulti, forced to flash away, and an ult by Matt might save his life. Shield comes back on. They will get away.
Ooh, Hard was right there, and Plex got the ultimate to the tunnel that was nearby.
All right, so an ulti used to roam around the map, but otherwise not a whole lot gained. Double ulti for a single ult, but the flash lost by Veritas. Going to be an important cooldown. Have to lifesteal back up, and will allow Plex to kill off the jungle camps.
Yeah, he's got that Bilgewater Cutlass, so he's able to just lifesteal off these camps. He'll be in a good spot. They do have to be a little wary, though, of Plex on this side of the map. It does look like he wants to come bottom in a second here. Okay, he's just preventing the dive. Making sure that Hard still is in the area, because that Evelyn just provides so much pressure just by basically being selected. You have to account for it, so it's a good idea to do so, but Evelyn gains that advantage. As soon as they see her, they know that they can go and roam around the map to different areas.
All right, well, mid lane's still getting pressured around, though. Seeing Evelyn or not, she leaves, goes to the top side jungle, though that's not necessarily known right now. But mid lane down to half HP means you might have Bishu knocking this turret down before you realize it. Really Boss Knight's dodging the Q, still harassing Solo, but still a fairly equal trade. Looks like we will be seeing Black Cleaver Gnar, by the way. The repeat gank did not come before his flash came back from cooldown, so gank number 1 from Hard didn't mean anything here.
Solo's walking really far up.
I think he's giving away that Eve's around.
Yeah, you don't try to go for those hero Qs, the super long-range Qs on Maokai unless you have somebody, actually, because otherwise you just E, W, and then you Q. And you really dedicate to it.
Rexa heading to the top lane. They're going to look for the play onto Solo. They must know Hard is around. Flash used, and now they realize Eve's up there thanks to Tremor Sense. Nothing gained, though.
Billy Boss very close to having his Mega Gnar transformation. It's not going to get popped either. He's sitting at that 98, 99.
Now it's going to happen.
So that's why they were completely dissuaded from continuing that fight, because the Mega Gnar would have meant just absolute death for Evelyn. And the fact that Maokai has no damage items at this point either.
And he's never going to. Maokai's going to build Righteous Glory in a Frozen Heart. And you know what? He's going to be as unkillable as trees can possibly get here. Vortex continuing to do just fine in this bottom lane. They lose summoners, and the thing is, there's a bit of a risk with the fact that Flash is down, but at this time, they knew Evelyn was top. They get some time to push on in. Hard gonna actually have a nice time clearing away a pink ward, but is afraid of what Rek'Sai might do to him.
Yeah, it's not a... Oh.
Wow, great hook on a Matt. He's going to have to ult himself. Can't even do it in time. Oh, just barely. And meanwhile, a fight in the top lane. Double ulti from Hard. They go towards Plexus. Rek'Sai very low on health. Forced to flash the wall. But Bishu's going to come in just before Yusui. Doesn't matter, though, as the kill comes through. Solo picks up the kill onto Billy Boss. Plex trying to run. He's healing himself. Hard is out of mana. And a Q here might not even kill him. Oh, it does just barely. Kill goes through. Bishu also forced out by Yusui. Big advantage, Cloud9 Tempest.
Oh man, huge advantage there. 2 kills going over fairly quickly, and in the bottom lane, they pushed out Matt, so it's Veritas all by himself there. There's the TP, they want to go for this.
The flash auto attack into the hook. Veritas has nowhere to go, will not get the kill on Nautilus, needed to condemn, and another auto attack to kill him. Wasn't going to happen. Bot lane outer's going to go down, top lane outer got killed as well, and Cloud9 Tempest have now crushed the early game.
Yep, this bottom lane turret going down too lot as well. Right there.
Oh, man, yeah.
There he goes.
Like a lot of turret shots, but there's no follow-up, so who cares? He's going to back anyway.
Yeah, immediately capitalization there from C9T. Now I want to see how that fight actually started off in the topside jungle. So we were looking down bottom, we saw the hook go through, but those kills that ended up going over, very important here. Black Cleaver completed on Billy Boss, but I don't know, it might be too little too late. He'll have some split pushing threat. But it now looks like Solo and this team is just ready to start grouping up and forcing things. Here we go.
The top lane fight. Billy Boss, no rage bar right now. And Plex actually misses the unburrow under Solo as well.
Yep. He didn't get the knockup. Gets it there, but then he has to flash away. And Bishu already rather low mana.
Ew, Plex turned around as well for a second. That was unnecessary. He gave Hard a couple of those Qs.
Yeah, they just came out on top of that. That was pretty much the warrior enchant from Evelynn being very prevalent in that fight. She was not focused either. Solo absorbed a lot of damage there because he's the first person they opened on. You E, you Q that, you use all of your abilities.
Yep.
And then when the Evelynn shows up, you don't have anything left to kill her.
Absolutely not. And you can see now that, especially if Evelynn keeps fighting in the top lane here up against C9T, Solo, he's... Okay, this is actually pretty nice though. Vortex are going to get themselves a dragon off of convenient recall timings. Lod was chunked low, had to defend minions under his turret. But Solo's already got a ton of armor right now, so Billy Boss and Plex going to have an even harder time getting rid of that already tanky Maokai.
Yeah, Billy Boss, he does have the Black Cleaver. Like I said, it might be a little too late for that. He does have the split push threat because of it, and he'll be able to train down Solo. But keeping his distance and playing it correctly is going to be big. But they have to have eyes on Hard when he wants to pull those types of moves off. And
honestly, I feel like Vortex, Billy Boss be better off going for Hex Drinker anyway. Like, he's not really amplifying physical damage from his team. Vayne's got enough true damage to be fine regardless. And just being a tank and having tanky items to me just is more important. But if he wants to have the split push power, if he wants to have the split push threat, then maybe this works out for him. He can cut through some of the armor that can bot. Sheep revealing that he's in the Raptor camp by killing off a Rek'Sai tunnel. And we'll see what's next for Cloud9.
They're wrapping around Billy Boss. There's 3 people in this bot side.
No wards bottom lane at all. Oh. Wow, easy knock. He's going to flash, but why even bother? There's no chance he lives. Pops a summoner for nothing. 4-0 Cloud9 Tempest. Bot lane easily pushed in. Vayne's not going to get a push over Solo either. It's not good.
Yeah, just thinking about the possible options there. He had flash. He used his E. He used his E very early on, and Sheep chose pretty much the best option there. It was just to ulti him, just a point and click.
Point and click him, make sure he goes down. There's no shame in using cooldowns. No other team fights to be had. Dragon's off the map anyway. Veritas is going to get some time pushing here, but good luck dealing with Solo, who's going to clear the wave. Chunks damage actually pretty well, so maybe round 2 goes a bit better for Vayne, but right now, big turret lead, big kill lead, everything for Cloud9 Tempest.
Yeah, 2 turrets from the bottom lane, and they're looking for this one in the mid lane for their 4th turret of the game. Bishu, though, he has blue buff. He'll try to defend this. It's going to be extremely difficult, though.
Well, wave clear going okay. Veritas once again on the split push. I think this is a good choice, though. They can use Gnar and Janna to keep turrets alive a bit better. Vayne is making progress here, so Vortex have the elements of clawing themselves back into the game. We'll see also if Billy Boss chooses to freeze. I think he should. There's nothing else for him to go for here. Just denying farm and clawing your way back in via minion gold could be totally fine, but Billy Boss is pushing. And even still, there's a ton of wards in that bottom jungle. Every time he pushes, he's open to getting ganked again.
Yeah, and this team is just very good at training people down, trailing them down. A lot of movement speed increase.
Oh, this Sivir just...
Oh, yeah. Sivir, Evelynn's going to sneak around you. Just a lot of different options here. Despite it being a 5,000 gold lead, it's not completely over for Vortex.
No, absolutely not. And it's
always
close
has
to
outplay
turning.
potential.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's close to turning. Again, mid lane turret nearly dead. Bishu is one good way away from killing it. Top lane, similar situation. So there's about 1,500 gold waiting to be grabbed by Vortex to turn that quite a bit closer. Maybe that'll happen in the near future. Right now, though, Cloud and Tempest solo did defend the bot lane wave easily.
Bishu still fairly weak in terms of items. He needs one or two to really start hurting people with these soldiers. Veritas will get this top turret fairly shortly, though. He's working on it, but this is a window of opportunity that C9T, if they're decisive, they can go ahead and actually dive this turret. Question is, can Matt and Bishu outplay the dive if it happens, or are they just going to back off?
Right now,
it's going to be 5 people. You already have Maokai coming up with Righteous Glory as well.
2,000 health, or 2,000.
They're going to dive this.
All right, they're looking for it, but Vortex is doing a good job of saying, "Don't you even dare!"
Oh,
Billy Boss with the teleport. They do burn that TP summoner, and that will be down for the next dragon. But Vortex defend the dive. They got top lane pushed a little bit more, and they pulled Vayne in. But
Sheep.
Oh, just misses it, and now he's overextended. The hard dive comes through. He's going to ult, but go down. A 1 for 0. Vortex gets one on the map, but look at the burst damage coming out of Yasui. The chase down is here. Billy Boss nearly dies to the Chaos Storm, but will get away. Solo goes for the root. Veritas now in a bad spot. The flash follow. Good chase by Hard. Bishu one hit from dead. A 3 for 1. Massive lead for Cloud9 Tempest.
They didn't even have to dive. All they had to do was just get Sheep to bait them with his body, and I guess it worked. So C9T, they only lose 1 member, but they pick up more turrets for their troubles, 2 down the mid lane, and they don't even lose their mid lane turret just yet.
And you saw Vortex punished for the lack of tank stats. Billy Boss was never able to become Mega Gnar, use his ulti to be a useful champion in this fight. Sheep barely misses, and you can watch this fight again. They kill him, but who cares?
The burst here, though, is huge. Just Victor Laser, Victor Ultimate, 1 kill, Plex already super close to being dead, and Billy Boss is out of the fight. He can't contribute anymore. Just a lot of AoE wombo there, and this is not a team that you want to fight this early on their own terms when everybody is grouped up.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bishu, he had 2,000 gold in his inventory when that fight happened. He picked up a needlessly large rod that probably would have been a bit helpful for his team in that one. Vortex, honestly, they just, to me, really feel uncoordinated. Billy Boss's items feel solo QE. Hexdrinker and a Giant's Belt would have made him survive Yasui's burst and actually maybe get a Mega Gnar out. Like, it's just not his role in the team to be a split pusher. They have a Vayne. Who cares what kind of damage Gnar has? It's just, it's useless to me. And C9T otherwise, I think, playing largely well. Solo, just being a tank, he's there to engage. Hard takes it upon himself to go for a locket because Sheep's getting a face of the mountain, so they're stacking the shields very early on. Like, just even itemization-wise, C9T looks so much sharper.
Yeah, it's a play style thing. Coming from solo queue, you want to carry from the top lane. You want that Black Cleaver. You want to get the Frozen Mallet for yourself. You want to get all these items that allow you to just solo queue, solo push.
Yeah, sure.
And it's actually refreshing to see somebody whose name used to be the Solo King go for a team-oriented build on C9T's side. So obviously, he's gotten some training, he's gotten some coaching since his Zenith days too. You don't have to kill the enemy top laner. Your team will help you do that. And it happened when Hard came to the top lane over and over again.
Gank assistance and good gank plays by Hard. The kill leader on the team, this Evelyn, definitely having a great game so far. Billy Boss tried to do some split pushing. He's going to get some damage on a Solo who pops Righteous Glory to keep chasing. Victor's coming up, but Victor will be there after Janna.
Oh,
so Matt is here to force Solo away, and he will survive. Yusui will go back to the mid lane to defend, but C9T now trying to keep all the lanes pushed. Mid got pushed, and you can see that Vortex kind of just reacting to top and bot lane.
Man, look at Bishu's damage. At this point, Bishu's at the point he should be. He hasn't died. He's the only person on his team who hasn't died. He has the highest CS on his team. And when I talk about playing around a player like Bishu, who has the potential to carry, it's always very frustrating to watch Bishu play and be like, his team isn't tanking for him. His team isn't really in the position to facilitate how he wants to deal his damage or be a frontline, or even survive long enough with item builds to be a frontline for him. So when you see a player like Bishu, you're like, this guy could succeed. And then seeing this type of thing happen, it's always very frustrating. And it happened as well when he was on the sub-squad, very uncoordinated. And he looks like a guy who, if you gave him a coordinated team, he could definitely shine.
Hey man, his team picks support Malphite for his Yasuo, okay? Sometimes he gets coordinated teammates who are all about it.
That was like their best game as well.
They almost beat TSM.
That was their best coordinated game.
I agree. I mean, when you say, hey, everyone hit R in this guy, then you're in a pretty good spot. So right now, not exactly how this comp works. Vayne can't even click R on champions, so good luck with that one. Rek'Sai the same, actually, so not that kind of coordination.
It doesn't help you when you run away, Solo.
Yeah, he bopped it anyway, and Solo is about 5 hits away from being killed. One more set of hits will do it.
Oh,
he tries to
what?
The thing is, if he gets rooted into short range and gets knocked up and heal, Solo gets away with it. So I think Veritas is correct not to dive this. He also had no idea where the enemies were. I think it would have worked if he did it, but...
Yeah, Solo has TP.
He had no knowledge.
So he can make a TP play right now. He has home guard boots. He's sitting in base, and he's not going to do it. He's going to run out.
All right, just walk into the lane. Looks like Vayne won't push fast enough to stop him anyway.
Yeah, and they already have Victor coming down, so if Vayne stays there, you're just going to see Yasui cutting it off. So as soon as he checks the wave and it's like he's not there, time to go back to mid and shove it out.
Absolutely smart play by the C9T members, playing the map quite well. Lod still pushing in, gets just another Sivir game. He's basically not played it 2 or 3 times in the last...
He hasn't really gotten it. It was banned, and then Kalista was left up. I remember during the play-ins, he had like 15 games straight of Sivir in his match history. And that was just over multiple teams, too. That was not just C9T, I believe.
That's true. So, either way, though, life is looking pretty good for Lod. 1-0-4 for him, nearly to Phantom Dancer. I like the individual crit-focused build for him, but 6,000 gold lead for Cloud9 Tempest. The second Dragon was basically an afterthought. It was very easily grabbed by those players. Map control just theirs and remains this way.
And come to think of it, and thank you for reminding me of this, is the fact that when they were playing so many Sivir compositions, and it was just the press R and go, that's one of C9T's best strategies all throughout the qualifiers, was having a Sivir composition where they can run down and capitalize off of the team's mistakes and rotational errors, and they punish them. And you've seen it this game where they will get turrets, then you mess up a mid-fight, they get 2 turrets for it, they run you down through the second turret. Really just punishing play here from C9T, and they try to force the issue with Hard on this Evelynn, because he's going to show up in places that you weren't expecting him to be.
Well, how about Billy Bob expecting these guys to be here? Great ult stuns too. The W does the same, but Hard still on the chase. Nothing else picked up. All right. Well, good outplay by Billy Boss to get himself away, but C9T is still massively in control. You can see the ward situations as well. Baron's on the table, and if you look at the vision, there's a few defensive wards by Vortex, but nothing that's going to spot an actual Baron attempt.
They do have Scrying Orb.
He's in range.
So if he ends up using that...
He has to be like
he doesn't have Scrying Orb. He used it on Raptors just now. So
that's awkward.
So he doesn't have Scrying Orb.
I mean, look at the ward control, though. Like, there's nowhere that Vortex can do that's honestly safe.
I feel like Veritas wants to go bottom to try and clear this wave, to try and continue his pattern.
This can't be him. They need to send Billy Boss down there. I mean, like, I know it's awkward because Dragon's coming up pretty soon as well, so assigning people properly can be difficult. But you see C9T already has the right idea. They're teleport his bot lane because they realize Baron's probably more likely to happen with this kind of team composition.
Oh, yeah. And if Vayne and Nazir showed up to a Baron, even if they were the first ones there, that's still a lot of Baron damage that can be dealt out. They got wards onto the Baron area, so they have some idea now on Vortex's side if C9T ever starts it up. But Veritas is really bent on having to 1v1 solo, and Hard is recognizing that.
And Cloud and Tempest have already set this play up. They've got 2 pink wards in the jungle. They can see Matt trying to clear things out, but they know this Vayne is alone. Here comes the push, and then Solo ults a bit early, but lands the W. A lot of burst comes through, teleport in, and Veritas just gonna get himself killed. Hard goes and grabs it. Out goes the Evelynn. Clean and neat and easy. Billy Boss in the chase procs the Hyper, and the rest of his team is coming.
Yasui's
but
here, though.
So is Yasui. Billy Boss is Meganar. He has the ulti up. He lands the house for the slow, lands the W. Matt still on the chase. Really trying to kill off this tank. Gravity field used by Yasui. Vishu does not dive this. They will get the kill onto the Maokai. Sivir still pushing around the other sides of the map. Lod will steal blue buff for this time.
So all the action went to the AD carry in the bottom lane, and they TP'd to him. So that left Lod in the top lane, the other AD carry who's closest to Baron, but there's no action happening around the Baron. 10 seconds on Dragon, and this bottom lane turret very low. So Vortex, they have some things they can pick up here. But TP from Solo is still up, and he's up in 15 seconds.
All right, well, Solo having teleport is a big deal. Dragon's up, Baron's up. Cloud9 Tempest look like they will be in position to contest for all these objectives here, especially with the fact that Maokai can teleport. Bot lane just being cleared back and forth. Victor's the defender there. Sivir can take over mid. Top lane has to be ignored at this point because there's no reason to really be there. And Solo actually stays in the base in order to home guard TP to look for a flame.
He's always looking and he still doesn't take it again. So he's looking for these opportunities. He's not overstaying for them. He has Righteous Glory, so even when he TPs onto a flank, he'll get a movement speed increase to get into the fight. But he's not banking on it.
I'm actually really surprised to see Billy Boss continue to build armor. He's going towards what I think is a Randuin's with this cloth armor here, but he's against essentially triple AP. It's very strange for him to care more about Lod's damage than anyone else's. There's no Spectre's Cowl on his inventory. Just notice this to me is a really big trend of the fact that Vortex needs a tank to hold on to Sivir and Victor's damage, and they just don't have it. Yeah. C9T gonna go ahead and take the Dragon now for themselves. Will be hard to contest. Plex has the ulti, but there's no tunnels around. There is one down at the river. He's gonna show up now by the red buff, but Dragon 3 already picked up by Cloud9 Tempest. Not even difficult. The gold lead has remained 6,000 for the last 4 minutes, but
they're gonna shove
another Dragon got picked up.
They're gonna shove mid. They're gonna try to get this turret fairly quickly. Right. Billy Boss is down bottom. He might get a turret for himself as well because Yasui's actually running, but they're trying to go for the flank.
All right, here we go. Gonna jump on in, and the Zero is gonna buy a bit of time, but Matt's gonna go down for his disengage. Solo in the top lane is just so damn durable, he won't go down. Lod kites away with heal. Veritas chasing for the flash of the wall, keeps him safe. Boomerang Blade takes a double kill, 3 for 0 already. Cloud9 Tempest already diving forward. Plex gonna go down thanks to good play by Yasui. The chase down from Victor, the second knockdown on the queue, and now Baron is on the table. Cloud9 Tempest 12-2 in kills. 29-minute Baron. And
Billy Boss gets nothing for that. He doesn't even get the bottom turret. He doesn't stay bottom to kind of salvage all of that. And he didn't have a TP to even get into the fight in the first place. Overextension for the turret, immediately punished. I was talking about Sivir comps. This is exactly what they want to do, is flank. They want to get at your lower, just numbered teammates and go after that whole core of the fight. 3-on-5, they're 100% okay. 4-on-5, just go.
Easy stuff. So you can watch that fight again. Vortex get the turret kill, and then in comes Cloud9 Tempest. They don't even have the Victor. It's a 4v4.
Yeah, it's 4v4. They want to go after it, but they know that these are the squishy members. They don't have the peeling tank. They have Plex. They have Janna. Go after those members.
Veritas leaves Sheep up. He can at least get a kill, but they spent so much damage damaging Maokai.
Yeah, everybody ends up fairly low except for 2 members. And if Billy Boss had been in that fight, maybe it would have been a little different. It definitely would have been different.
Unfortunately, we have yet to have a Mega Gnar ultimate in a team fight this game. His mechanics are fine. We see him hop around. We saw him with the escape from his demise when he got the 2-man ult and 2-man W, but actual team fighting once again being the bane of Vortex. The laning phase was fine. They went equal. They survived Evelyn ganks. They got to a mid-game essentially, but it immediately crumbled afterwards. C9T looking to make it a 2-0 week and make themselves 2-2 overall. In the middle of the pack would be a good spot for Cloud9 Tempest. Top 4 make playoffs is all they really need to go for at this point in time.
And they don't get to play Renegades again until playoffs. So Renegades played them without Yasui. The power looks a little different here because they don't just have Lod as a threat. They have Yasui that you have to pay attention to. You've seen him in these fights, even before these fights, poking people out and playing the role of just bursting and being that mage. So when you have a more rounded comp, when you have a more rounded teammate, it definitely helps out. So if they do make playoffs, Renegades is a team that they're going to have their sights set on that rematch with their full roster.
We'll see how that rematch looks, because right now it is so far heading forward for C9 Tempest. They're looking to make this the 2-0 that they were seeking. 9,000 gold lead remains. The Baron buff siege working out pretty well. Wave clear is happening somewhat for Vortex. Bishu still has a lot of damage. 1-1-1 his scoreline. Do what he can to keep his turrets alive, and honestly, with that Janna shield, it's really not too hard, but here comes the hard dive. They're going to go for it right now with the Evelyn flank. They go in, they blow up Bishu. He was the important one. A barrier was still down at the time. Veritas able to kite back safely, but guess what? 2 kills already picked up. Veritas, not much left to do, and Hard will die to the Ignite, the support kill. The scoreline right now is Pi 3-1-4. C9T are going to have the room to now knock down a turret off the 2-for-1 trade.
Exactly, 2-for-1 trade there, a lot blown. Solo's been having just a great series against Vortex. 100% co-participation yesterday on Shen. Shen banned out against him today, and now he's only missed out on 1 kill in this entire game, and his twisted advance timing has been really good. Let's watch this fight.
Well, it's not going to be much of one. Lod will go down, but already the trade kill is Vayne drops, and Billy Boss also going to be an easy casualty here. Of course, Hard was gone, so maybe it was a chance to take the fight, but Bishu wasn't up and in the battle yet, so just a 3v4 for kind of no reason. Another 2-for-1 for C9T. They're getting farther ahead.
10,000 gold already. 3 dragons. At this point, Vortex don't have a whole lot of waves back in. They don't really have the stats to combat C9T. They'd have to rely on some outplays, but C9T are really just grouping up, and it's hard to outplay a death ball with all this movement speed that wants to go into you. Watch this, the dive underneath the wall. So Solo reaches the backline, Emperor's Divide, just those twisted advances all game long. He used one to dodge a Gnar ultimate earlier as well.
This is the problem with a team composition that relies more on movement speed than the individual move blocks to get forward, right? If it's a Shyvana or, you know, a Renekton or something, Janna's great. Janna stops from doing anything useful. But when the damage is coming out through the targeted root, untargetable Maokai, and a Victor ultimate, Janna just does not peel those champions. The backline reach continues to happen, and you just saw how quickly Bishu dies. Now the red buff will go through to Veritas, but C9T right about there. Top inhibitor's already dead. Dragon's up at 30 seconds. You might as well get that before you siege again. I feel like there's no hard time for C9T. Instead, they're going to play for vision control. They're going to secure this bottom jungle, and they'll go back to the siege after the dragon goes down.
C9T bouncing back from last week's games against Renegades. Putting Yasui back in the lineup and being able to perform with him and have him just be integrated back in after 2 weeks. Still, not too much of an accomplishment, but it is an accomplishment that they haven't taken any steps back.
Yep.
That it's not rusty with the roster. They're just looking to get back to that place. Because there were some questions about where they stood after those games. Are they a #1 team? Are they #1 or 2? Is Coast slightly better than them? And C9T are just coming back full force.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the fun thing as we go farther down into the split, figuring out really how these teams really do stack up. I think there's a lot of really good mid-pack teams here, and as they continue to do battle throughout time. Wow, what a hook on a Plex! Ooh. But he's tanky enough to not die.
And they're just going to group up now. C9T, all they have to do is group up, have Solo split when he has TP, and then they just keep shoving waves. And like I said, Bishu is their only sole source of wave clear here. Veritas isn't really going to kill them. You don't have AoE wave clear from Billy Boss. It's only Bishu. So if you constantly shove up waves and put stress on Bishu,
well, here's the attempted dive. Going to go right away towards Matt. The ulti popped to buy some health, and Hard actually will die for the over-aggression. Singled by Bishu to buy some more time. Solo is tanky, but is he tanky enough to survive this turret for this long? It no longer does all the extra benefits of 512, but he actually gets away. The double kill, somehow Yasui turns that fight into a victory. C9T, another 2-for-1.
It's just the huge ball of stats and the fact Solo gets out alive with all of that tankiness. Billy Boss, though, he's looking for some damage on Yasui.
He's got a lot. Someone he'll use by Lado to keep him alive. Veritas will not dive in. Oh, man! Matt gets flat.
Solo has TP.
Billy Boss has an ult. He's going to pull Sheep in, but Solo's going to rejoin this fight. Lod gets his 5th kill of the fight. 5-1-10 for him. Veritas summoner heals to run as fast as he can. They target him, they'll kill him. There's the root, there's the knockback. A quick ace. Yasui 8-0-4 on this victor. This should be the game. 21-5. Cloud9 Tempest 2-0 over Vortex.
And we were looking at the matchup of Yasui versus Bishu. Neither of them got a whole lot of help when the fight started coming to that mid lane. It was Yasui blowing up key targets that propelled him into the middle of the game. And they're both basically operating on the same thing at that point. They were both like 0-0-0, 260 CS, time to fight, and he came up big with his items. You said Bishu was sitting on 2,000 before that fight as well previously.
Yeah, and that's the rough thing is occasionally we also see mistakes where teams just... It's just what you see with lesser experienced teams is you have just a lot of things you've got to learn as a shot caller or just as players getting used to coordinated play about the tier list of important things. Like, we got to keep minion waves under control. We've got to be able to take dragons at good times. C9T did that with Dragon #1. It was really slick. We've got to take turrets at good times. We saw that actually go well from Vortex as well. But also, recall timings are important because if you siege... Like, even if the gold is equal, but everyone's sitting on 1,000 gold, you're up 5K, which is massive for a 20-minute team fight. That's pretty much exactly what happened. No recall from Bishu. He was like 4 waves late in recalling for a needlessly large rod. I think that was unfortunately a mistake as well. Of course, a great game by Cloud9 Tempest. The Sivir comp worked out. They got a lot of good dives, and it was well played by them.
Yeah, C9T did a really good job of bouncing back from the Renegades week and coming into this with that pretty much not on their minds. They're like, all right, we're just going to go in. Yusui's going to play his game. We'll play around. We'll group up around him later. But I liked the adaptation of going towards that top lane because it's a Maokai. You're always going to be able to get those ganks off. I love ganking for Maokai lanes because they're just so easy. He points and clicks. He's got a knockback. He's got a slow. And Hard definitely picked the right place to be on the map.
All right, Solo's mechanics were not required, just had to press W, and it went well. But joining us to talk about that victory is Cloud9 Tempest AD carry Lod. Lod, man, congratulations on the win, dude. How's it feel to get that first 2-0 week?
Feels really good. Now that we have Yasui back, you know, we feel like we're complete as a team again. So, yeah, it feels really good.
What was the transition like coming, like, playing a week without him, then getting him back? Did you practice with the other lineup for a little while? Like, you know, did it take time to readjust?
Yeah, it's definitely taking time to readjust because we haven't been able to practice with him since like before our game versus CLGB. So it's taking a little bit of time to readjust, but it's going pretty good, I would say. Our scrims are just getting better and better every day.
So you guys, you've been watching the Challenger Series, and there's all these new guys coming up. Who do you think is your biggest competition aside from Renegades?
Definitely, I'd say Coast. Coast seems to play really, really well, and traditionally, they've always had like a really, really good challenger team, so we're definitely gonna have to look out for them.
All right, so talk to me about the match you guys were in, though. You said Coast and Renegades, two of your bigger rivals, but Vortex looked very good in Game 1. They had a big lead against you guys. Did this match go in any way you, like, at all like you had expected?
I think Game 1 was like a little off for us. They played really, really well early game, and we weren't really expecting to get so behind. We're kind of lucky that we were able to come back and just turtle really well and, you know, steal a dragon and get back in the game. And I think Game 2 was a little more how we expected it to go. Like, we basically just didn't lose anything early game. We played aggressive early game as we usually do, and we were able to snowball it and win.
Yeah, and you guys did a really good job. It was a great 2-0. Now, you mentioned Coast were one of your big rivals. Our next match tonight is actually Imagine versus Coast. How do you think that matchup's going to go?
I have a feeling that Coast is probably going to win. Yeah.
They're just better.
Well, on that one. So, I don't know. I think Coast is a really good team, and I think Mash is probably like the best AD carry in the Cook series right now. Like, he's playing really well. He's playing on point. So
he's better than
the whole team. Shrimp seems to be a really, really good jungle too. Like, he's adjusting to NA super well. So I'm stoked to see them play. So, Imagine did pick up a new roster though, so of course it'll be interesting to see how they do with their new pickups. So yeah.
It's not the Coke series. I got you on Twitter for that one too.
I'm sorry.
The NACS, man.
It's engraved into my brain.
So you've been on a lot of Challenger Series teams. You were in it when it was back in the Coke League and all of that stuff. So it's NACS now, but you've been on a lot of teams. Why is Cloud9 Tempest the best one for you right now? What is the biggest difference that you've noticed?
I don't know. It's really nice to be under Cloud9. Like, they're really supportive. Like, we have a really good coach with Bubba Dub, and yeah, basically just the environment is really good. Like, we're kept in check, you know, we're not like just left alone. Like, on past teams that I've been on, you know, like the team is just left alone and it just becomes really, really troll, and like the atmosphere becomes like really bad really fast, and it's not like kept in check. But on this team, feels like, you know, our management and our coach like pays good attention to our atmosphere and make sure that we're kept in check.
Well, it's good to hear, and you guys are, of course, playing really well, so good luck for the rest of your season, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, and thanks to the fans for supporting us, and thanks to Cloud9 for sponsoring us.
Well,
thanks for the interview as well.
Yeah, thank you for the interview. And you're welcome, absolutely. Now, guys, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, it's time for our second matchup of the evening, and it's Team Imagine versus Team Coast. Don't go anywhere. The chase down is here. Billy Boss nearly dies to the Chaos Storm, but will get away. Solo goes for the root. Veritas now in a bad spot. The flash follow. Good chase by Hard. Solo in the top lane is just so damn durable. He won't go down. Lot kites away with heal. Veritas chasing with a flash. The ball keeps him safe. Will die for the over-aggression. Singled by B. Should have buy some more time. Solo is tanky, but is he tanky enough to survive this turret for this long?